Hello, welcome to Homework Help with Mr. Eason. This is section 6.3, which is simplest form. If you're a parent watching this video, you probably know this as reducing fractions. We don't call it reducing anymore because reducing kind of implies that you're making the fraction smaller. And the actual amount that you have is not any smaller, it's just the numbers are smaller. So we call it simpler because the numbers are simpler to work with. But really they're just kind of synonyms. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. We're going to look at 3/6 first. And 3/6 is a fraction that a lot of students will recognize as being a different version. We're trying to find an equivalent fraction for this that has smaller numbers. And I'm looking and it seems like we might be able to divide the top and bottom number by 3. So if we divide by 3 over 3, our new fraction, 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2, so we have 1/2. And I have a visual model for this one to make sure we understand that this is okay to do. We've got 3/6 up here and then on the bottom we have the same box. We have 1/2 shaded. The exact same amount is shaded. It doesn't matter. The numbers doesn't matter. What matters is the relationship between the numerator and the denominator. In this case, 3 is half of 6, and in this case, 1 is half of 2, so they are equivalent fractions. Something else you need to be aware of is sometimes if you are simplifying a fraction, it could be simplified, in more than one step. One way to simplify 8/12 would be to divide by 2 over 2. And in this case, we would get 4/6. Well, 4/6 can simplify again. So you could take 4/6 and divide by 2 again, and you'd get 2/3. Another option for this would just be to do your 8/12 like you had it in the start, and you divide both by 4. And then you still get 2/3, but it's just one less step to do. So the key here is that you keep simplifying as long as you can. 2/3 does not simplify anymore. The next fraction we're going to look at is 6/9, and we can try to divide by 2, but, because 6 divided by 2 does work, but you can't do 9 divided by 2, so you have to divide by the same number for the numerator and the denominator, or else you're not going to get the correct answer. So, in this case, if we're dividing 6/9, we could divide by 3 over 3. We're going to end up with 2/3, and that is simplest form of that fraction. So, if we take a look at the workbook sheet, we've got some fractions that we need to simplify, and then at the bottom we have some fractions where we have to decide whether it is in simplest form or not. So we'll just go ahead and do a couple of these. 9/12, we need to think what we can simplify that down to. It looks to me like we can divide both the numerator and denominator by 3, so we will do that now. 9 divided by 3 is 3, 12 divided by 3 is 4, so 3/4 is our simplest form. Number 7 is 4/8. A good tip if you're struggling with simplifying is that if both numbers are even, that means they can always be divided by 2. So if we have 4 and 8 are both even, we could divide them by 2 and get 2/4. And notice our numbers are still both even, so we can divide by 2 over 2 again. And in this case, we would get 1/2. Alternately, you could have done 4/8 divided by 4 over 4 and still gotten 1/2 as your simplest form. Number 8, 10/12. This is a tricky one. 10 you could divide by 5, but 12 you can't. So in this case, you're going to have to divide by 2 again because they are both even numbers. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. 5/6 is our simplest form because we can't divide 6 by 5. So that is finished. And we've got 20 over 100. One thing you could do here is you could divide both by 20. So if I were to divide both of those by 20, I'm going to end up getting 1/5. 20 divided by 20 is 1. 100 divided by 20 is 5. So we have 1/5. And then I'll just do a couple of these down here. We can look at number 12, 5/6. We already know 5/6 is in simplest form, so we will write yes, it is in simplest form. And the next one we'll look at is 4/10. I see two even numbers, therefore we are not simplified yet. We can divide by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So the first thing we need to put is no, it was not in simplest form. And then we could circle that this is the simplest form of that fraction. This is something that comes into play a lot. Test questions, a lot of times you'll get an answer in, that is like 4/8, and the answer choice would be 1/2. And if you don't know to simplify, then you're going to get that, you possibly could get that wrong. Simplifying also just makes your answers easier. When I'm measuring something for baking, I don't want to use my 1/8 cup 4 times. It would be a lot easier to use my 1/2 cup once. So simplifying is something that is beneficial for you in everyday life as well. This has been Mr. Eason with Homework Help, and I will see you next time.